This is Citizen Smith, and today we're starting the show with a very timely topic for Portland, Oregon especially, but in the whole country, the same challenges are being faced by restaurants and the COVID shutdowns. But Portland, as of December 2nd, is in shutdown mode for the next 4 weeks, and restaurants are taking another hit. And joining me to talk about this in the business of restaurants now in this very difficult time is Chris Thornton, president of EMCO. It's a restaurant owner of 9 restaurants in Portland, Oregon, with 12 locations. Chris, thank you for joining me today, which I know is a very difficult time for you.
Thank you for having me.
So first of all, tell me a little bit about your company. You're one of the larger restaurant owners in the city of Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, we're an independent restaurant company. The owner of the company, Mike Camden, cut his teeth here in Portland about 15 years ago with some notable restaurants like Beast and Yakuza. Made the switch to fast casual with Little Big Burger. And I came onto the company about 7 years ago. My first venture was with Micah was with Boxer Ramen at our downtown location. And since then, I've just helped him grow the company and facilitate and do what's needed for the businesses around the town.
And now you're in this unique environment economically for restaurants that's unprecedented. And for restaurant owners, many won't survive this coronavirus pandemic. It's really a tragedy in the landscape of restaurants right now. I was reading that in Portland, when they go through this next 4 weeks of shutdowns, after already having a shutdown earlier in the late spring, a lot won't come out of this. They'll be shutting their doors permanently. What have you learned by talking to people in your own restaurants?
It's really disheartening. These past 8 or 9 months since COVID first hit the States, and it's hard. I know a lot of people who have had to close restaurants. Things that they put their lives into, and they're just hit with these set of circumstances that were so unforeseeable for anybody. I've been working in restaurants for 25 years and all different aspects, from Michelin restaurants in New York to fast casual in Portland, and worked with a lot of great people and friends and contacts that I have across the country. It's really hard. It's heartbreaking.
Oregon, Portland, is specifically because of the surge in the COVID, they've taken a very strict shutdown mode. No outdoor dining, just takeout, delivery. Are you a little surprised that this is the stringent measures they've taken, or are you in agreement?
I guess I'm not surprised. I mean, the first time that Kate Brown issued the stay-at-home, I think our daily counts were significantly lower than they are right now. So I'm really not surprised that we've sort of circled back into this. I think, coming into winter and flu season, and it's, I guess ultimately I'm just not surprised that this is the direction that the county has gone and that the state is going now.
With that said, were you prepared?
Yeah, I mean, we're all of our concepts are fast casual, and we have 2 restaurants that have where we built outdoor dining, but none of our locations ever reopened for indoor dining. I think we sort of anticipated that it was going to happen this winter. So, after today, or tomorrow, the 2 restaurants that do have the outdoor dining, we'll take all of the tables away and do that. But I think we were, even when we started reopening our restaurants in the summer, our anticipation was that by fall winter that this would probably be in effect again.
How about heading into the new year with the news of the vaccine? After the 4 weeks, do you anticipate, or are you hopeful, I guess we should say hopeful, that we can resume somewhat of a normal dining facility in your restaurants, whether outdoors only or maybe some 50% indoors? What do you think?
I'm hopeful, but I think at this point, I think we're really. It's something I think we've definitely learned from our first shutting down of all the restaurants in March is that we're sort of worst case scenario planning at this point, you know. So the decisions that we make, you know, what are the short and the long term financial impacts to our business, and what risks make sense, and what should we try and not pursue in case something happens where, you know, this revenue stream or this other aspect of our business is suddenly pulled out from under our feet again.
Well, like I said, you're one of the stronger restaurant owners. So if anybody's going to survive this, a company like you should. How does it look for your future restaurants in the city? Do you see some shutting down?
Yeah, unfortunately, I see that. I do see that happening. You know.
Well, you have 9 restaurants. You're going to have to scale back, as you're saying. Then, how do you handle that? I mean, how do you make your choices?
Very carefully and collectively with the owner, the managers of the businesses. We get a lot of feedback from our staff about how they feel. You know, back in March when COVID started surging, you know, we made the decision to shut down all of our restaurants based on the feedback of the staff when they closed the dining rooms and the stay-at-home order went into effect, and so little was known about COVID that our staff was coming forward and expressing their concern about their safety and coming to work. And we really took that to heart. And, you know, for us, that's the ultimate goal in all of this is not just operating a business, but it's the health and safety of our staff and ultimately the community. So we do get a lot of input from our staff. And reopening, you know, one of the things definitely that we do, and I've seen a lot of restaurants around town doing, is going to a limited work week, limiting the hours to limit the overlapping of staff, you know, limiting contact between staff members. So our restaurants, all the restaurants but 2 are limited to 5 days a week and closing up earlier than we typically would.
When I was reading about the restaurants' challenges, because the holiday seasons are coming up, and this is when you try to buffer your bank accounts to get through this, you know, the winter in the second half. But that's not going to happen this year, and that's why people are saying, well, we probably won't see restaurants that are open now open in the new year, 2021. Could be like a 50% fallout of restaurants in the city. Have you heard that?
I have not heard that.
Is that too dire of a speculation?
I hope so, honestly. You know, I'm really hoping that Congress can come together with a second round of stimulus and PPP, because I know that was a very serious help to so many businesses, just to be able to continue to pay their standing costs, their rents, and keep their staff on even in a limited capacity. So, you know, really praying that they can come together here very shortly before the end of the year and get a second round of PPP and SBA loans.
Yeah, that's how most of them made it through the first shutdown, and that's nationwide.
Yeah, and that was us included. You know, we had PPP funding come through, and that basically sustained us for like I said, our fixed costs long enough to start bringing back staff back in summer through fall on the restaurants. Different concepts as we were able to bring staff back and reopen.
You forget how much restaurants are a part of your life, socially speaking, you know, just for family gatherings, business meetings. It's a real integral part of our society, and I've felt it. I love going out to eat. You know, it's just my outlet. And as you get older and mature in life, you really enjoy it because you go to finer restaurants and if you go on a date, you take them to a restaurant. All that's been eliminated. And from a social, get away from the economic side of things. For restaurants, socially speaking, are a bond for society, and we don't have that bond.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think it's what drew me to the industry at a young age was the social aspect of it. Working in kitchens and working in restaurants and on the employment side of it, I can't think of another industry where you get to work with so many unique people from so many walks of life and all over the country and all over the world, and going to different jobs, and it might be a lateral move in your career, but where it is socially, it's like, wow, I have this whole new circle of friends, and like you said, going out, being with friends, being with family, dates, all of that stuff. I mean, it really is, at least for myself, it is the majority of my social life involves going out to these places where people congregate. And since that has no longer been an issue, or an option since, March for the most part. I mean, even for the summer, phase 1, phase 2, those sort of things, it's just not the same. And it's very difficult. I don't think anybody's gotten used to it for sure. It's hard. It's been depressing, to be honest. It's hard because that's, for a lot of people like myself, like that's your outlet. That's how you go out. You feel good. You talk with friends, family, whatever it is, and with that outlet closed, it's hard to make that up.
And the professional waiter or people using it as a part-time job to supplement income, that's also an important part of restaurants, and that doesn't exist. For if you're an actor in Hollywood, or they always say, "Oh, I was a waiter before I became, a successful actor." So these people don't have the safety net anymore to sustain themselves while they're waiting for their next big gig. So restaurants, I think we're all learning, is one of the more important business sectors of America.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. It's one of the only industries where somebody can, even without a lot of experience, or in a lot of examples, like without any experience, just somebody with a good attitude and a good work ethic who's willing to, work hard and learn. There's a place, there's a job for people out there, and that's in jeopardy, and that's pretty scary.
Even like the new immigrant or the undocumented worker, they usually searched out restaurant jobs to get their foot in the door in American society and to becoming a resident and citizen.
Yeah, absolutely. It is an avenue for people to get in and work and make a living while going through the steps of what they need to do to figure out their lives in America. I mean, it's hard. It really is. It's shocking. I think it took a long time for the rest of the country who is not involved in hospitality to understand the impact that the industry plays in everybody's day-to-day life.
And when you walk through a city like Portland, which is a foodie city, or a city like Boston, where I'm originally from, and these cities like New York, they're so quiet and silent now. The restaurants are the heart and pulse of the city, and right now that pulse is missing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the reason to go out, right? I mean, you're either going shopping, or you're going out to somewhere to meet publicly for food or drinks, and when those doors close, it's unless you're going to a park to read a book or walk your dog, it's shutting off the avenues for society to coexist in a lot of ways, to be honest.
If we get this vaccine going before the end of the year, and then you're heading into January and February, and they're saying it might be spring before the general public can get it, but what about the restaurant industry? Is there any push to, like, maybe you get in the front lines there because you're kind of an at-risk profession, and there are certain professions that will need it more. You can't stay at home and work at a restaurant. Have you talked to the governor or the health agencies or anything about where you might stand on that?
No, that's a really good question. The short and the long answer is no. We haven't really explored that yet. I think you now have Moderna Moderna coming out, the second company with this 95%, rate, which is just amazing. And now they're talking about by the end of the year there could be 40 million doses for 20 million people and all these things. But again, I think one of the things for at least me on a personal level that I've sort of built like this protective shell about all things coronavirus, where I try not to get my hopes up too high because there's been so much disappointment in 2020, and so I think once they're done with the trials and there's an actual announcement, I think definitely people in healthcare, first responders, and need those first doses. And if there's a way to lobby for certain sectors of the public, I would absolutely be interested in looking into that. But I just think it's kind of too soon to explore that, to be honest.
I was reading about China's, back to normal. Restaurants are open. I have a friend over there who's teaching. Who I used to, I was living there last January before I came back and got back into media, and now they've pretty much snuffed out the virus. People are back in restaurants in the big cities like Shanghai. It's life as normal. I just don't understand why America couldn't get to that point as fast as, say, a large country like them, where people are eating in restaurants again.
Yeah, I don't want to get too political on it. It's the whole social distancing, face masks became so politicized, and I think there were some communities that acted very quickly and did a very good job, and clearly there's other states and areas of the country that didn't take those precautions, and you saw the surges there. I just think collectively as a country, we probably didn't take it as seriously as soon, whereas in China, we're more of an authoritarian state. You had a much more severe discipline crackdown of social behavior, and in some cases quarantining neighborhoods where surges were happening. So I think there's definitely some legitimacy to that.
Yeah, it is true. So I guess we just have to hope for the best. But I mean, personally speaking, I think by spring next year we should be back in restaurants eating.
I agree with that too. I really hope that's the case. I know there's a lot of people who are going to be very shy, and rightfully so. But I think there's enough. There will be enough support and enough momentum to get back out there. I know we did recently just sign a petition to the governor talking about creating a plan specifically for hospitality, for continuation of rent moratorium. What I think was possibly the most important one was the dissolving personal guarantees on properties, because for people who own this business, that it just got yanked away from them, and now they're already lost their business. They're financially in a terrible place, and now you have landlords who are coming after them because they have a personal guarantee on the space, which I think is just despicable. So it also has to do with funding for government funding for restaurant owners and operators. So I'm hoping if it's not going to come at a federal level, that the state of Oregon is going to step up and do something for its people.
Well, we're at that place where if we want to save businesses that have been critical to the city, then now's the time for government to step in. That's why government exists. Help us when we need you. And restaurants need the help of government now.
I agree 100%. We've all paid our taxes, and it does more harm than good to not try and correct the economy.
Yes, as they say, you lose a restaurant, they're not coming back. I don't know who's going to fill the void down the road. There will be restaurants that don't reopen. There will be lost business. Some people say, well, somebody new will come in, that didn't have a restaurant before and fill the void. Do you think that will happen?
Eventually, yes, but I think it's going to take a lot of time. There's a lot of restaurants are closing. There's a lot of empty spaces, and I think it's not just with restaurants, but with retail, and it's going to happen with commercial offices, with people shifting to working from home, and I think the medium to long term effect of whatever decision they make now is going to have a really big impact on commercial real estate, and I truly hope they understand that, because it does the economy no good, it does the city and the state no good to have all of these places empty, because then you don't have people coming downtown to go to the restaurants, you don't have people coming leaving their houses in the suburbs or leaving their apartments and commuting to work, so they're not supporting the businesses in those neighborhoods. So I really hope they understand the gravity of the situation and the full economic effect it has.
Very good. Well, thank you, Chris Thornton, president of EMCO, a hospitality business that owns 9 restaurants in the city of Oregon and Portland and the region. And he took the time to talk today in a very difficult situation for him and all restaurant owners. We'll talk again.
Yeah, I look forward to it. Thank you so much for your time.
And I'll be right back on Citizen Smith for our second segment of the show today.
TalkCast PDX is a digital platform for local talk shows, live video streaming shows, and podcasts originating from Portland, Oregon. We are committed to a diversity of opinions and quality talk that offers something for everyone. At our brand new state-of-the-art studio, we offer a wide range of services to meet every type of broadcasting need. Yes, we will help you record and edit your podcast or program. We also help you distribute on multiple platforms, and we can also help you transcribe your show for a blog. We offer video services and promotional services, as well as ad revenue packages. Email us today for a special introductory offer. Everything you need to start your own show as soon as possible. We're here to help. Go to TalkCastPDX.com, that's TalkCastPDX.com, and send us a message today.
It's time for Citizen Smith.
Time now on the Citizen Smith podcast to talk about vaccines. And of course, you know which one I'm referring to. Referring to the vaccine that helps kill the coronavirus. The latest update on the Pfizer vaccine, the coronavirus vaccine, now is 95% effective, Pfizer said today. And that is awesome news, as the latest round of the late-stage vaccine trial of the COVID-19 cases is completed. Pfizer is developing the vaccine with BioNTech, which we've talked about. They're now awaiting the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration's approval for the emergency authorization of use. Interesting, though, everybody's wondering how many vaccinations will be available. And they're talking 12.5 million people might be able to get vaccinated in the United States this year. That's not many. We have over 300 million people in America. So I guess the rest of us can expect to have our vaccinations available February, maybe January they start rolling it out. That's still to be determined. And I was wondering, do I have to pay for the vaccine? Nope, it's free. $1.95 billion has been made available. The federal government is paying Pfizer for 100 million doses, and they'll be paying them for more, of course. So it's a completely government-funded vaccine. Yay! That makes me feel good. So Pfizer and BioNTech's trial included nearly 44,000 volunteers, half of whom received the vaccine. So the others were placebos, a shot of salt water. All right, well, that's all good news. Excellent. And they're using this unique technology called mRNA in their vaccine. Moderna as well. In an excellent article today in the Wall Street Journal documenting the specifics of the details of the use of messenger RNA, a molecular courier that delivers genetic instructions to combat these viruses. So I'm going to get a little detailed talking about this as I read this article that was well written and I find fascinating. The future of medicine is here. It's by Peter Loftus, Jared Hopkins, and Bojan Panzevsky. All right, let's read, shall we? Now, bear with me. If you haven't seen this article, it is in the Wall Street Journal today, but it's fascinating. They write, vaccines normally take years to bring to market. With older technologies, researchers spend time developing and growing a virus or proteins from the virus, which generate an immune response. So this is how we used to do it. But this new mRNA is different. The manufacturing process of old vaccines, often in eggs or large bioreactors, is laborious and time-intensive. Successful shots typically take more than a decade to develop, according to a 2013 study published in the journals PLOS One. Messenger RNA promises to cut that time by taking advantage of the body's own molecular machinery, essentially teaching cells how to make a protein similar to one found on the virus, which then triggers the body's immune response. So that's why this is faster. Before they used the vaccinations that took years to develop for measles, shingles, and other older vaccines, use in an inactive or weakened virus to coax the body to build up protection. But now we're using this mRNA, found in cells. It is a naturally occurring substance. It is a kind of molecular worker bee, carrying instructions encoded in DNA for cells to follow. Given its role, scientists had long theorized it could be repurposed to turn cells into miniature drug or vaccine factories, which is now what's going on with the coronavirus vaccine using mRNA. So the vaccine is relatively quick once the genetic sequence of the pathogen is found. Researchers use the genetic sequence of a targeted virus to program the mRNA that can fight it. In the journal Nature Reviews Immunology last November, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, Anthony Fauci and John Mascola wrote, mRNA has the potential to be a rapid and flexible vaccine platform. Starting from gene sequence, mRNA vaccines can be produced in a few weeks. And here it is. Moderna, founded in 2010 to focus on mRNA, made more than enough doses for about 45 people to start the first human study of its COVID-19 vaccine within 2 months of learning the sequence of the so-called spike protein found on the surface of the coronavirus. With a platform in place, Moderna could quickly design new drugs or vaccines by inserting the relevant snippet of mRNA, said Moderna Chief Executive Stéphane Bancel. Or Stéphane Bancel, I don't know. He calls mRNA, quote, the software of life. So we're still awaiting the vaccine, but they're not sure if it's going to work well in high-risk populations such as the elderly, which is very critical. And they're going to be the first ones to get it. So the elderly will be the guinea pigs. And we want to see, if it works in the elderly, then that's a great sign for the rest of us. And they're also waiting for more safety data on these shots. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration wants to see if any serious side effects arise during the 2 months after a vaccine was given. So again, the elderly will be the first to probably get this, and people with immune deficiencies. But it's the elderly we will be watching for a couple months thereafter. So if they get it in December, we have to wait through the month of December and January. So I expect that we probably, in the general population, can't expect this until February, March probably. And by April, we should all be vaccinated. If you will take the vaccine, I'm going to. I don't want to get this virus. Give me the vaccine. It's safe. I trust them. Drew Wiseman, an immunologist, and Catalin Carrico, a molecular biologist, started working on mRNA more than 20 years ago in laboratories at the University of Pennsylvania. So kudos to them. Quote, it didn't integrate into the genome. There was no chance you could have an adverse genomic event, Dr. Weissman said. In contrast, he said, a different type of gene-based therapy was found in a study in France in the early 2000s to cause leukemia-type illnesses in patients who had immune system disorders. So, there's your safety concerns addressed. Very good. Moderna is also testing with Merck whether an mRNA-based therapeutic vaccine can treat cancer. The treatment is custom-made for each patient based on mutations found in their tumor cells. So it could be the future of cancer treatment as well. Breast cancer, skin cancer, pancreatic cancer. The company has several cancer shots in development, including one for the type of skin cancer in mid-stage testing. This from BioNTech as they continue their advancement in mRNA vaccines. Fascinating, isn't it? Think we're seeing the future of our vaccines right before us for this coronavirus. Speaking of vaccines, Amazon is now in the pharmaceutical business. Have you heard? Yes, they started offering their pharmaceutical goods now, and they did so because they acquired the prescription pharmacy, the online pharmacy company PillPack Inc. So once they acquired them 2 years ago, after the company acquired them, they are now ready to take on CVS and Walgreens. And the pharmaceutical, those pharmacies are saying, well, we're not worried. We've got online. We've got pharmacists. We offer in-store medical help and shots for flu and things like that. I think they'll be competitive. I don't think Amazon's going to run these pharmacies out like they did retail stores. But they will make inroads. Amazon doesn't do anything without making good progress and a lot of money. So they're going to be shipping insulin, asthma inhalers, and common generic or branded medications. So I can get my statin from Amazon now if I like. I like going to CVS or Walgreens. I've been working with them for years for my general statin, my cholesterol medication, or if I need something else. I'm in the system. I like going into the brick and mortar building and seeing the pharmacist, or just go through the drive-through. It's not a big deal. It makes me feel good. But I applaud Amazon offering an alternative. They do have their customer base already. So they got that going for them. They have the delivery system through Prime. They will be offering discounts. I like to use GoodRx when I buy my medications. It's a great discount service if you pay out of pocket. You get a $100 statin for $10. 30 pills. GoodRx is excellent. I like Walgreens. I go anywhere in the country. If I was living in Seattle, they got it in Boston. They still got me in their system. It's no problem getting my meds. We're linked with my insurance company when I have it. Although Amazon will be working with insurance companies too. Don't kid yourself. Amazon will make a dent, if not a big dent, in the industry now. And I'm sure Walgreens and CVS are kind of shivering right now, shaking a little bit as the great Amazon enters the business field of distributing and selling pharmaceutical drugs. Interesting to see how this will develop. Will they take over like they did with bookstores when they first started? No, I don't think so. But anything's possible with Amazon. That's it for today's podcast and show. I'm Citizen Smith. Enjoy your day. I will talk to you on Friday.